I walked into the bank, expecting nothing more than a quick errand, a simple transaction like any other. But what happened next was something I could never have predicted. I was met with cold, dismissive stares, and just moments after I asked for assistance, I was told, "We can't help you." The bank had served me for years, and yet, in that one instant, I was treated as if I didn't belong. I tried to keep my composure, but the humiliation I felt in that moment ignited something deep inside me. Was this really happening? Was I being judged not for who I was, but for what I looked like? I didn't shout. I didn't argue. Instead, I walked out calmly, feeling my anger boil beneath the surface. That wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. What they didn't realize was that I wasn't going to take this lying down. Within hours, my name was on the lips of thousands, and the bank was forced to face the consequences of their actions. This wasn't just about me. This was about making sure no one else ever had to feel what I felt that day. I never thought a simple banking trip could turn my world upside down. But that day, everything changed. It all started with a routine visit to the bank. I had just completed a long day of meetings and I needed to handle some financial matters. I walked into the branch, dressed in my sharp suit, exuding confidence, as I always do. The day was sunny and the office was bustling. It was a perfect reflection of the success I had built for myself. I owned my company and nothing in the world could touch me, or so I thought. The moment I entered the bank, I noticed the subtle but undeniable stares. There was an energy in the air, one that I could feel on the back of my neck. I approached the counter, where a young teller was standing, staring at me like I didn't belong there. "Good afternoon," I said, smiling politely, trying to break the ice. She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she looked me up and down, as if deciding whether or not I was in the right place. "How can I help you?" she asked, her voice colder than I expected. I was a black woman, successful in a world that often overlooked me, but I didn't let that stop me. I was used to breaking barriers, proving people wrong, and showing them that I was just as good, if not better, than anyone else in the room. I explained my business and handed over my identification and bank documents. The young teller barely glanced at them, tapping away at her keyboard. She clicked a few times, and then the words I never expected to hear slipped from her lips. "I'm afraid we cannot assist you today." For a moment, I thought I had misunderstood. "Excuse me, you don't meet our eligibility requirements for the services you're requesting," she said, barely looking up. "We suggest you try another bank." I blinked, trying to process her words. Was this really happening? I had banked with them for years. My company was a high net worth client, and I had a long history of successful transactions. Yet in the blink of an eye, she was telling me no. "Are you sure? I've been with this bank for years." "I'm a customer," I said, my voice now a bit firmer. The teller barely glanced at me as she repeated her refusal. "I'm sorry, ma'am. We can't help you." My heart sank, and the anger I had been suppressing for years began to surface. I was being dismissed, not for my financial status, not because I lacked any qualifications, but because of my race. In a place that was supposed to serve me, I was being treated as though I didn't belong. I stood there for a moment, speechless, as the teller turned her attention to another customer who had walked up to the counter. She completely ignored me, as if I was invisible. In that instant, I made a choice. I wasn't going to leave quietly. I wasn't going to let this be just another story of a powerful black woman being dismissed by the system. No, I would fight back, in the most powerful way I knew how. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and walked out of the bank. As I stepped into the sunlight, I pulled out my phone and made a call. Within minutes, I was connected with my lawyer, my personal assistant, and my PR team. It was time to turn the tables. I knew I had to act fast. I had to make sure that my name and the injustice I had experienced would spread like wildfire. I wasn't just going to let it slide. This was more than a personal vendetta. This was about fighting the system and ensuring that no one else would have to endure what I had just experienced. I called my lawyer and gave them a brief rundown of the incident. Then I called my PR team. I had built my career around trust, resilience, and breaking down barriers. Now I was going to use my platform to make sure the world knew about the blatant discrimination I had just faced. While my legal team began drafting the complaint to file with the bank's corporate office and regulatory bodies, I used social media as my weapon. I posted a short, powerful message about my experience at the bank without naming the branch or the staff member involved. But my followers knew exactly what I was talking about. The post went viral within hours. I knew that in the digital age, one post could be the catalyst for a movement. And that's exactly what happened. People across the country rallied behind me, sharing their own stories of being dismissed, ignored, or treated unfairly in similar situations. The hashtag number sign Black CEO was born, and it spread like wildfire. The next morning, the bank issued a statement. They apologized profusely for what had happened and claimed that it was an unfortunate mistake. They assured their customers that they were taking steps to rectify the situation. But I wasn't satisfied with just an apology. I wanted action. I wanted to make sure this didn't happen to anyone else. I had my lawyer request all the bank's internal communications related to the incident. We dug deep into their hiring and training practices, discovering that there had been a long history of racial bias in the bank's customer service. This wasn't an isolated case. It was part of a much larger problem. With this new information, I went public once again. I exposed the bank's discriminatory practices, complete with documented evidence. The news spread quickly, and the public's outrage was palpable. The hashtag number sign Banking While Black trended nationwide, and soon the bank was under intense scrutiny. By now, I had become a symbol of resilience and power. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for every person who had been mistreated, ignored, or overlooked simply because of their skin color. The bank's executives were in full damage control mode. They held emergency meetings, issued press releases, and even tried to reach out to me directly. But by then, it was too late. The trust had been broken. Customers were withdrawing their money, staff members were resigning, and the media coverage was relentless. The public had already made up its mind. The bank had failed its customers, and they were paying the price. I watched as the bank's stock value plummeted. Investors were nervous. The reputation they had spent decades building was crumbling. And the more they tried to clean up the mess, the worse it became. But in the middle of their collapse, something incredible happened. Companies began reaching out to me, offering partnerships, investment opportunities, and speaking engagements. They recognized my power, my influence, and my ability to bring about change. I was no longer just a CEO. I was a force to be reckoned with. I took advantage of these opportunities, using my voice to speak out against discrimination and injustice. I invested in businesses that supported diversity and inclusion, and I built a network of like-minded entrepreneurs and activists. I used the momentum I had gained to launch a foundation aimed at supporting Black entrepreneurs and providing them with the resources they needed to thrive. I had turned my pain into power, and now I was empowering others to do the same. It wasn't about getting revenge anymore. It was about something greater, creating a world where people like me, people of color, could thrive without fear of being dismissed, ignored, or mistreated. It was about ensuring that no one would ever again experience the injustice I had faced that day. I never walked back into that bank, but they walked into my world on my terms, and they would never forget the day they underestimated me. I had gone from being kicked out of a bank to becoming the one holding the cards, and in the end, I won.